I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And hopefully you guys can see my screen. You can give me a thumbs up if you can see it. This is so weird. I think Zoom is now mad that we're all using it for free, so it's being kind of fiddly. So let's see if I can get the share screen. Here we go. Here it is. Can you guys see? Yeah? Okay. Awesome. I love it. Thank you for the little thumbs up emoji, since we can't speak to each other. All right. So in my classroom, I've been teaching for a long time and I only have one classroom rule. It makes it really easy for kids to remember. And the classroom rule is never cause a problem for yourself or for anyone else. And I feel like that's a pretty all-encompassing rule that's easy to remember. Some classrooms have like 20 different rules. My first school had like 10 rules that the kids had to remember, and they were posted all over the school, and they were kind of hard to remember. So I like this rule because it pretty much covers everything. Are you causing a problem for yourself? Then don't. Stop doing that. Or is it bothering, whatever you're doing, bothering other people? Then stop, right? So it's pretty easy for kids to understand. But a few years ago, I read a book called Teach Like Your Hair's on Fire. It's a super awesome book. And the book was about teaching classroom character. And so I use the level system from that book. And we've already kind of talked about it a little bit in class. So there are 6 levels of behavior in the classroom. Level 1 is I don't want to get in trouble. That's like the lowest motivation, the lowest level of behavior. Level 2 is I want a reward. You know, like if I do something great, I want a piece of candy or like a pizza party. Level 3 is I want to please someone, which a lot of times kids operate on level 3 because they want me to be happy or they want you to be happy. Level 4 is just I follow the rules. That's kind of what we're looking for in class, is just level 4 behavior, following the rules, not causing a problem for yourself or for others. Level 5 is I am considerate of other people. And level 6 is I have a personal code of behavior and I follow it. During the year, we work to give examples of level 6 behavior in class, on the playground, and in literature, in history, and in current events. It is really hard to see much level 6 behavior in current events right now. If you watch the news, it's kind of it's a little bit depressing that there is not a great there's a lot of fighting and not a lot of level 6 behavior. But as we read books in class, as we read novels, we look at different characters and we try to analyze their character. Are they a level 6? Are they level 4? Third grade is a year where, when I taught third grade, I noticed kids were very me. They were all about me. They didn't really think about anybody else until about halfway through the year. And then they sort of opened up and realized that there were other students in the classroom. And so this system kind of makes them start looking at each other. It also makes them start looking at you, and they're looking at me, and they're looking at other adults on the campus and kind of noticing behavior. And so it's kind of awesome to channel that so that they can look and see good examples of good behavior, and also of people that have standards and character, right? So I really like this system. As we encounter different characters in books, I like to write down their names and then on a Post-it, and then we stick them on whatever level they're at. Some people change in books, and also character changes too, right? So it's kind of fun to have a character be doing one thing and then all of a sudden they change and they either become a better person or something happens to them and they become a worse person. And so it's kind of interesting to see that, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. Students creating problems for themselves are expected to come up with a way of fixing the problem as their consequence. Students are held accountable for fixing the problem. It teaches them to realize how their actions affect those around them. An example of this is a few years ago, we do a lot of ceramics projects, and one student broke another student's project by accident. And so I kind of walked through writing a little apology note, and then we sat down, the three of us sat down, and we helped the person rebuild the project that they broke with the person that owned it. And it was kind of a beautiful moment. It's like, oh, you learned how to really fix the problem. You didn't just say sorry. Oh, sorry, I broke your thing. You actually helped to fix the problem. And so we kind of work on that in class too, that if you cause a problem, you figure out how to fix it. All assignments will be on a homework tracker. I'm old school. I have a piece of paper called a homework tracker. Every student gets one on Monday, and it has all the homework assignments for the week on it. And we do homework each night. I don't do packets. I hate packets because kids always lose them, whether accidentally or on purpose. And so we have a spelling assignment each night, and we also have a spelling or grammar, I think. And then, no, I think it's actually spelling, sorry, just spelling. And then we always have a math assignment too each night. So students have to read each night too, and they're going to fill in a little reading bookmark. They're supposed to read 30 minutes each night. At the beginning of each month, students will take a sight word test. If your student scores 100% on the 100 sight words, he or she will be done with the sight word test for the rest of the school year. We're doing that right now. Tomorrow we're taking the first one, all 100 words. Anyone who gets 100% on it is done, and they never have to do it for the rest of the year. So a lot of kids struggle with it. A lot of kids don't have a problem with it. So I don't want to punish the people that are already, I don't want to make them do something that's too easy for them. So if they're done, they're done, and they do a little independent activity at their desk when the rest of us are doing it. Let's see. Sight words really help kids with reading and writing. If your student is having a hard time with reading, that's kind of the number one reason why kids struggle with reading, is because they don't know their sight words. And so that's kind of the first thing I like to work on. And I have a lot of success moving kids in reading. And that's kind of, I've learned over the years that moves them really quickly. It makes them take a big leap once they know their sight words. Let's see. Also, it helps them with writing too. Students turn in their homework each morning. When they walk in, we collect homework. On number 6, it says the school has purchased a license for IXL for our 4th grade students. IXL is a pretty good program. We don't do it in class, but if you would like to do it at home, and it gives your student work at his or her level. In class, we will always be doing 4th grade level work. Like, everybody does 4th grade level work. Even if it's really hard for them, I help them. I push them so that they can do it. So everyone's doing 4th grade level work, but your student might not be on 4th grade level. Last year, I had somebody that walked in reading on a 6th grade level. And when he left at the end of the year, he was reading on a 9th grade level. So I was constantly trying to find things for him to read so that I could keep challenging him. So that being said, I also had people that were on a 2nd grade level with reading too. So, you know, IXL is good because it can help remediate if your student's struggling, and then it can also challenge if your student needs challenge. Students need to read at home 30 minutes each night. We will be starting book club once we get current reading levels from the STAR test. We're taking it next week. I like to group the students into small groups based on their reading level from the STAR test, and then they get a chapter book and there's about 5 or 6 people in each group. So it's nice and small. They get assigned a chapter book. They have about 3 weeks, 4 weeks to read it at home. They read it at home, not at school. And then they come in at lunch. I set up a schedule. They come in at lunch and we have popcorn and I ask them questions. I read all the books. So I spend like a lot of time reading kid books. I read all the books and then we discuss the books. Yeah, and it's really fun. I find that in a small group, kids that are really quiet and kind of shy kind of open up because there's only like 5 or 6 people in the group. And so it's kind of fun to hear what they're thinking, because a lot of times quiet people are just quiet when it's a whole class. So it's really fun. One of my students last year had amazing ideas about books that we were reading. Like he had great comments and it was kind of a treat to have him. Like I enjoyed listening to his comments of what he was reading. He had really good observations. So also it's kind of fun because we have popcorn and it, builds community in our class as well. So we won't be doing that for a little while, but I'll figure out what their reading levels are and how fast they're reading, and then I'll start assigning them books. I think I covered that. I'm gonna zip down here to number 8. Students are required to memorize their multiplication tables by the end of the year. In theory, these should have been memorized already, but they never really are. Most kids still are kind of struggling. Maybe they know some of the easier ones, but they're struggling with 6s, 7s, and 8s, ones that are a little bit harder. So I consider myself to be the mop up. So I'm mopping up to make sure that when they go into 5th grade, they know them. And so usually I have volunteers and parents, and we had an aide briefly last year. And I have, if you're helping out in class, I might have you pulling kids out, and I have a whole little program where you pass them off with them and they have to answer them quickly. At the end of the year, we have pizza. We have a pizza party for people that have passed off 0 to 12. So that's just something that you might want to work on. If you're, they can pass them off in any order they want. So like if they want to do all the easy ones first, then you don't need to help them or have them practice the easy ones. But maybe towards the end of the year, as they have harder ones, you might need to kind of help them and coach them a little bit, or buy them some flashcards so that they can practice. Let's see, we're on number 9. We meet for literacy centers and during language arts time. Students are grouped based on their fluency scores. Because we're reading aloud together, we always read aloud at centers, so kids build their fluency. And so I group the students by how fast they read, so that when they're reading together, we can keep up, because I have them read 2 at a time so that it's more efficient. And also I read with them and I slowly pick up the pace. Like I match their pace and then I slowly push them. It's so that they start reading faster. And then occasionally during the year, probably like 3 or 4 times during the year, I give them fluency tests. And if they're getting faster, then we switch the groups around so they get to read with different people at their new speed. And so in the literacy centers, we complete an assortment of writing and reading activities. Students play learning games together and they do hands-on activities. The last thing is that students are expected to give 100% effort on their work and to always try their best. I mean, that's why we're at Linscott, right? They are expected to be prepared to be thinkers and learners each day. I try my best to be a role model for the students in that respect. So I told the kids the other day, we were talking about what 100% means, and we were making a little chart. And I said, if you ever feel like I'm not giving you my best, tell me, because I work really hard, and so I feel like I'm giving 100% most days. So that's kind of the expectation, that we're setting the bar really high. Everybody's going to be trying their hardest, paddling as hard as they can. So we have it seems like in our class, what I've kind of noticed is that there are students that are pretty high, like maybe on grade level, and then there are students that are kind of struggling, and there's not a lot of middle. So I've kind of that's just my quick first week read of things. So we have a lot of work to do, and I've rolled up my sleeves. I love when there's a lot of work to do, because I love having a kid see that they're on a second grade level. Last year we had a lot of people that were at 2.5 that went up to grade level, and we're almost on a 5th grade level. That means they went up 2 years worth of growth, which is insane, because they worked really hard. So I love that when kids kind of feel motivated, they see where they're at, they see that, oh, I'm not where I need to be, and they push themselves. And I push them too. Like, we kind of both apply pressure, and it's really kind of a beautiful thing to see. So hopefully we'll see a lot of that this year if everybody's working as hard as they can. Field trips are very squishy right now. Part of the problem is that all of our field trips have elderly docents. And when I mean elderly, there's this guy named George that's on one of the field trips, and I swear he's 900 years old. He looks like you could blow him over with a feather, and he's awesome. He always wears a costume from the 1800s, and he's super awesome. And he talks really quietly, and the kids listen really hard because he's really awesome. So a lot of those people during COVID, because they were older, they just bailed because they didn't want to get COVID. So I think a lot of places are kind of working to try to get their docents back up. And also some of them, like the state parks, aren't allowing signups yet, but I'm going to keep looking. And the ones that I was able to sign up for made me give 2 or 3 different dates. So they haven't firmed up the dates. As soon as I know firm dates on anything, I will get it to you, because I know you have to take time off from work if you want to go on field trips. And so as soon as it's firm, and I'm going to kind of apply some pressure. So hopefully, you'll be able to take time off work if you have to come on our field trips. Just a quick little description. Because we work with clay, I have my students go up to the Bay Area. It's kind of a long drive, but it's pretty cool. We learn about a sculptor named Rodin. He's the father of modern sculpture. And so we go to the, oops, sorry, I'm letting somebody in. We go to the Stanford Museum. The Stanford Museum has the 2nd largest collection of Rodin sculptures in the world, other than the Rodin Museum in Paris. And so we go there, we look at we learn a little bit about Rodin, and we do some writing projects about Rodin, and then we go and we look at some of his sculptures. And then because he worked in clay, and because we're going to be working in clay, he worked in clay, and then he would cast his work in bronze. And so it's kind of interesting to look at his work, because we're also working in clay. They also have a lot of ancient, they have a lot of pottery and vessels from really old stuff from Asia. And you're looking at something from China that's, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years old, and it's pretty cool. So we go look at some of that because we do ceramics, and they're kind of a little bit snooty because it's the Stanford Museum, but it's really awesome. And also because we learn about the San Francisco earthquake, I like to take the kids into the Stanford Chapel, which is a jaw-droppingly beautiful building. And we learn a little bit about the earthquake and how it affected Stanford University. And you can't not go to that chapel. It's just lovely. It's all covered with mosaic. It's just, it's funny when kids walk in, you actually hear their breath go, because it's such a beautiful space. even when I walk in, I've been there a million times. I'm like, oh, it's lovely in here. I forgot. So we usually go to Stanford and we go to the museum and to the chapel. We also go to Shataktak Park, which the people who lived in Watsonville and who lived in Gilroy, the tribe that lived there was called the Amamutsun. And so we go to Shataktak, which is over near Gilroy. It's kind of right over the hill. And it was a large village, it's the site of a large Amamutsun village. And so we do a lot of hands-on activities. They teach the students how to prepare acorns. They teach them about animals that live there. We learn about weapons that they made. There's some hands-on activities, and it's super informative, really high content, and really pretty interesting. And then we go to the Monterey Customs House. Monterey was the capital of California, and there was a lot of trading going on in Monterey with shipping. And so the Customs House was the building where they would tax all of the goods that came through. And so they have a presentation at the Customs House, which is really fun, like a scavenger hunt. And the kids do a little skit. They dress up like early Californians, and then they do this little skit. And then they also have activities. They have centers where they learn about cattle ranching and leather working, and we make tortillas, and we learn about how to make rope, and we learn how to sew. There's like all these different little hands-on centers, and they're really fun. So luckily that's probably going to be up and running. That's one of the ones I got dates for. It's always one of the favorite ones. Kids really love it because it's all really hands-on. And also they're hot tortillas. We make butter and we butter the tortillas. It's fabulous. Also, I try to go to Año Nuevo. I haven't been able to get through to them yet. That's kind of a tricky one to schedule because the elephant seals are only there for like their mating season. And then they have their babies, and then they leave their babies on the beach. And so you have to kind of get there at just the right sweet spot so that you can see the mothers and the babies. And last time we got there kind of late, and there were just huge male ones that were really scary that I thought were going to kill us. I kept yelling at the park ranger. And then there were like some babies that were left over. So hopefully a lot of people go there, and so it's kind of hard to find the exact sweet spot. We also, if the Lady Washington is in Monterey, the Lady Washington is a ship, or it's a replica. It's been used in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, but it's a fairly good replica, not the part underneath, but the deck and the sails and everything looks just like a ship that would be a trading ship in California. And so this ship, the Lady Washington, is out of Washington State. And what they do is they get volunteers that want to sail, that want to learn how to be sailors. And they start in Washington and they sail down the coast up and down to LA, like they go back and forth, and then they stop in and dock, and they have field trips that go on the ship. And so they have centers on the ship, so kids learn how to take depth measurements. They learn about fathoms. They learn about knots, how to like measure how fast a ship goes. They learn about all the different sails and how to raise and lower them. One year they had the kids raising the sails. That was hilarious. Because you have to like use lots of teamwork to do it, and it's also really hard to do, and so it was kind of fun watching them work as a team to raise and lower the sails. So hopefully we'll get to do that. So far, like normally when they're in Monterey, they're just in Oregon on their schedule. So I'm going to keep looking so that hopefully we can do that. Then we always go to Mission San Juan Bautista. The mission is open. We learn a lot about missions. The kids write mission reports. So we go in the mission, and then San Juan Bautista opens all of those cool buildings that are around the mission. that are all, each one of them is like its own museum. And so we go to the mission, and then we also go to all the little outbuildings, all the stable, the livery stable, the hotel, and we kind of tour the whole area. We also do an activity, and hopefully I can sign up for it, called Wagons West. It's really fun. The kids get into little groups. They have a little tiny wagon, and then they have to buy all the supplies. They buy like little supplies, and they have to pack their wagons, and they have money, and they have to, figure out what they want to take with them. And by then we will have read about the Donner Parties. So they're pretty savvy about what not to take and what needs to go in their wagon. And it's kind of fun watching them do that. If you're a parent on that field trip, it's kind of hilarious. There's always parents standing at the back just laughing because you can't really help them, but they're all arguing and throwing things out of their little tiny wagon, and it's kind of fun. And then the docent kind of takes them along the trail across the United States to California, and so it's kind of fun. Hopefully we'll be able to get into that. And then the last field trip is the Castro Adobe. The Castro Adobe is in our town, and it's kind of over by the dump. It is the largest 2-story adobe in our county. It's like the only one, I think, that's 2-story. They keep working on it and making it better and better. And there's little centers there. And also they've reinforced it so that kids can go up on the second floor where they used to have fandango dances. And so the kids can go up and look at this super rickety adobe, and you can kind of see it has like kind of a nice view. You can look out, and the Castro family they had a land grant, and they owned this huge chunk of land that went all the way to the Pacific from Watsonville. And so we learn a little bit about their family and about early Californian inhabitants that lived on land grants by going to the Castro Adobe. Again, I hope that one is open so that we can schedule it. Usually, I don't think that one has elderly people that volunteer, but they might have a problem with just regular people volunteering. So I'm going to keep chipping away at the field trips. I know it's frustrating. Last year, we found out you can go on field trips in like, I think April or like February or something like that. And none of mine were like open. So I'm like, we can't go if they aren't open. So hopefully I'll get all of that. I'll let you know as that happens so that you can get time off and so that you can go with us. So I'm going to get cut off pretty soon because Zoom is now, the free part of Zoom is a lot shorter. So they're cutting. I downloaded the new Zoom app and it cuts it off so pretty quickly. I have 4 minutes left. So if you have any questions or concerns, or you can always email me, and I'll get back to you, and I will send you the newsletter every Sunday night. I'll include probably field trip information in that too, as as I'm able to schedule them. Okay. So I feel like we've had a pretty good first week of school. I'm kind of going a little bit slow. There's been a little bit of behavior issues. And so I'm kind of going slow, and so that we really get in the groove. And then next week we start taking off and going fast and getting a lot done and making a lot of progress. So I didn't want to overwhelm them. So we kind of get up to speed and then we take off. And by the third week, we're doing a lot of the stuff that we're going to be doing for the year at this pace and speed that we're doing it at. So, anyhow, I guess I will see you later. I can't hear anything that anyone's saying, so it's very awkward. Thank you for coming, and I'll post this. I have a YouTube channel and I'll put a link to it if you want to refer back to it. And also I will post the paper that I was sharing. Okay, so if you know people that weren't able to show up, they can just read it, same information. Okay. All right, hope you have a lovely evening. Tomorrow we do our first clay project. Cross your fingers. Cross your fingers we don't have noses and eyes fall off of our little faces that we're making. So anyway, I will talk to you later. Thanks for coming. Bye.